To start things off, I'd like to say that Drupal is a very complex content management system, and I actually did experience difficulty. So my my actual site is not completely meeting the requirements in terms of like creating the relationships, and then I had an issue with getting the location of the courses to display on the location tab, even though I followed all the steps correctly and did exactly the same thing in the previous tabs for courses and faculty. So those were two of the issues I ran into, and I had no idea how to actually fix. But so moving forward into the topic of Drupal, so Drupal is definitely the best overall content management system software, especially for larger companies. It has many features, abilities, as well as multiple advantages that are offered when a large company would use it, or anybody in general. So, for example, it offers a lot of customization for the creator. You could pretty much edit and adapt anything towards your brand to promote it in the best way possible. There's thousands of themes offered, as well as plugins, so you could actually specifically choose certain plugins or themes that best relate to what your company does and the overall brand. It's also very flexible. You could manipulate the site in ways to make it more, like, to configure it in a much simpler way, or even a more complex way, depending on what your end goal is for what you want out of your website. Another benefit of using Drupal is it can handle a high amount of traffic, which is definitely something a larger corporation would want in the event that at a certain point in time that it could get flooded with hundreds of thousands of people, or even millions at one time. And using like a smaller content management system, like such as WordPress, it might like crash. Whereas if you're using Drupal, you wouldn't have to really worry about that at all. Also, Drupal is definitely the most secure content management system out there. And one of the articles I read about all the advantages of Drupal, they haven't had a data breach since as of 2015. So it's very secure, which is definitely a feature that larger corporations would want, because they don't. The worst thing possible would be a data breach where account information, as well as like credit cards and passwords, are leaked. And if something like that were to happen, the company would lose a large amount of money. So that's definitely a much more attractive feature compared to like other content management systems or smaller ones. You wouldn't have to worry about data breaches, and then all the headache that follows after that of dealing with that. So that's definitely another reason, and possibly maybe one of the most important, alongside the customizable aspects of Drupal. So just after listing some of these features, Drupal is definitely the best option for larger corporations. There's there's basically, if you can't really think of a reason not to use it, other than maybe the complexity of it, which obviously, which is very obvious. It's not for beginners. So if you're a beginner, you're gonna have a difficult time using it. Kind of like I did when I was trying to figure out the relationships. I wasn't able to figure that out. So obviously, you want to be very advanced when working with this stuff. And then on a final note, it's also very cost effective to the companies. It's since everything's open source, you could pretty much take code from elsewhere, manipulate it in ways to like adapt it to the way you want it to look or want something to do if you want it to function that way. So you could easily do that. So obviously overall, I mean, there's not really a reason not to choose Drupal if you're a larger organization, but if you're just somebody trying to create a blog or, you know, a smaller scale website where you don't expect much traffic, then obviously, I mean, WordPress might be your best bet just due to simplicity, you know. But so moving forward into how to actually create a content type and then also add fields to it. So what you want to do is you want to go to, for example, you just go to content, and this is kind of, so if I wanted, this is just, I'm kind of going back and forth, but if you wanted to create, like add content, you would choose the tab you'd want it to appear in. So if you wanted just a basic blog post, posted to the home page or the front when you first come onto the website, you just click article, type in what you want to post about, then save it, and it appear kind of like how I did for the post on my reflection and why Drupal is. So I put all my links. So that's how you'd add content there. So within the structure, you could. So this is the views tab, and currently I have these are the two tabs that I have on my home screen, which are faculty and courses, and it's just a page I created in order to meet the requirements of the assignment. Location was the one that I wasn't able to get my content to appear. However, I did it all according like how I did previously for these. But yeah, it's just a basic page layout of your information. So when creating a content type, like I guess the main tab menu on that displays. Yeah, so moving forward, I'm kind of jumping around because it is a little complicated, but for example, if I wanted to add a course, I have it set up where I could add the description of the course if I wanted to. The title, obviously, what the course would be. So obviously, like Math 110 or ISD 432. Then I could select the 3 credit or 4 credit, as well as 1 or 2 credits, because there are 4 credit courses. So there's the option to add that. And then you can manipulate the seats to kind of get an estimate of how many seats are in each class, depending on like what the class is and the topic. So on average, I would have the default set to 55 because since in the higher up major courses, it's kind of close to what it is. But I didn't mean to click that. Structure. Okay, so here is adding a content type, and so here are the 3 ones I originally created for the assignment. I have course, faculty, locations. So if you click like manage field, I have all these fields within to match like the description of the course, because what the original task was to be able to look at, like, for the location, you want to be able to find what building it is, what room number, and what room, the specifications of the room, like if it has computers available, and the time slot. So basically what like time the class was. So if I wanted to just going through the process, I could add a field. So you have a lot of options. You could do numbers. You could do, in most cases, you probably just want to, for this assignment, it would be like you would want to just use either a number or, a plain text to describe the course. But then as far as creating a new content type, I would just want to go here, like add content type, and then through that I could create the name of just say, let me check real quick. Versus faculty location. I don't know, maybe if, for example, I wanted to say which campus it is, like since Penn State has several branch campuses as well as the main University Park. So I would, for example, I'd say like campus for the name, then also add a title field label, and then I would go back to where I was showing earlier. It was in the content types. After I created the field, it would appear here. I'd go to manage fields, and like I showed earlier, I would add the certain labels that would apply to the specific type of campus you were going to, because there are several in the state of Pennsylvania. As far as the issues I ran into with using Drupal are So what, for example, for courses, I got that to work. Um, I have I have all the classes listed with links, so I can lead to a description of the course. Say it's 4 credits, about 450 seats available, and then a really brief description of what the topics going over are. And so I was able to do that, and then you could say, let's say I say 55 for the seats. It would come up with ISD 402, which has 55 seats available. I also got the faculty, then which added a phone number, a photo, and then the issue I ran into is with location. It says the page wasn't found, but earlier in the video, I did show that I had all the fields created for the page, and then also if we go down here, we have a list of all my entries. So I did enter information for those classes. So like obviously I have for specifications here I listed the section, but I have the room of the number and then the time slot as well as the building. It's just I wasn't able to get it to display. Additionally, I was kind of playing around with the site through structure, just trying to manipulate, see if I could find how to get these entities to reference each other, I guess. But I just due to lack of experience and not knowing too much about navigating, I wasn't able to create those connections within the site. There were obviously, it's a very complex site, so there were a few issues that I did run into, and those are pretty much the main ones. Otherwise, that's mostly it.